In this episode of Talking About Orks, we're going to be going over the big fact of spring 2019 and orcs getting hit with the big old Nerf bat for no particular reason. So this is the Orc Codex Facts, updated 1.1 on 4/29/19. And the big one everyone's going to talk about is stratagems mob up. Change the first and second sentences of the stratagem to read, use the stratagem at the end of your movement phase before setting up any reinforcement units in your army on the battlefield, if any. It's like 2 clan boys units from your army that are within 2 inches of each other. So basically, it means this mob up can only be used on boys, and only before reinforcements. So you can't bring something in from Green Tide and then mob them up with an existing 10-man unit. In the same turn. This is, of course, a reaction to the Luda Star, where you would mob up 10 and 15 Ludas and then use the more DACA and showing off stratagems on the big unit of 25. But I consider this a severe overreaction to something that is mildly annoying to the meta in general at most. Because, of course, that whole thing, the Ludastar, can be shut down by both Drukhari and Gene-Stealer cults. So I don't see the need to nerf it that much. There's already a decent counter in the meta to the Ludastar from really being top at any particular tournament because of the bad matchups. And there's so many things that Maba could be fun to use with other than Ludas. One thing I wanted to do, which now I can't, which is to bring in 2 units of commandos, 1 unit of 10, 1 unit of 15, mob them up and use them to assault on that first on some turn. That was combined with a jumping unit, and just have this big flood of boys coming through on one turn. I can't do that anymore. And there's nothing overpowered about mobbing up 10 and 15 commandos that have just come in from reserve. There's nothing broken about that in the least. And Meganobs. Meganobs is the other one where you can mob up 2 units of 10 Meganobs and march them across the field, preferably behind a grot shield, and just move them across the field, forcing and waiting for the inevitable to come about as the opponent kills a bunch of grots. You can't do that anymore either. I don't think the Ludastar needed fixing. I think there was enough natural balancing in the meta through the 2 counter stratagems out there from those 2 armies to deal with it. I don't think the Ludastar was good, the best thing we had, but it wasn't completely game changing. Unlike, a 3-up, 28 wound, 8 toughness knight. Yeah, so that's the thing. I think it is a severe overreaction to a mild distraction, and it's very disappointing. It's not something that had to be done. Not something that had to be done at all. Anyway, what else changed is the shock attack gun and the Ludas both roll for their number of shots and strength on the shock attack gun each time it shoots, not just once per phase, like it was before. So instead of for the entire phase, you roll 1d3. Now it's each time it shoots. So again, this probably in and of itself was enough of a nerf to the Ludastar, where I didn't need to nerf the mob up stratagem at the same time, because this kind of really takes the gusto out of showing off. I kind of like it for the shock attack gun because it's a much larger variance from 2 to 12 instead of 1, 2, or 3. So that shock attack gun part of it's not as bad. see what else changed in here. Oh, but the one thing that is nice, it did clarify that if you cast Warpath on a unit before it jumps or before it mobs up, oh, I can't do it before it mobs up because the psychic phase is after that. But if you cast a Warpath on a unit, then jump them, they get to keep their Warpath, which is under the main rulebook facts. Let's see here. If I can find this. Where'd it go? A whole section on it in here. Oh, just to say, I did clarify wholly within. So KFF again is wholly within. So when it comes to vehicles, the entire vehicle has to be within 9 inches of the force field for it to get that 5-up invul save, which is another huge nerf, which didn't need to happen. Let's see here where it goes. Okay. Okay, any rules the unit was being affected by when it was removed and which would continue to affect it for a specific duration from abilities, stratagem, psychic powers, etc. Continue to affect that unit until such a point they would normally no longer have no longer applied. So the is for, again, that clarifies that the unit under Warpath after a jump gets to keep their Warpath. And knows that does not apply to any unit set up via sustained assault rule. Any unit that has been added to your army during the battle and has been set up, such as those added via demonic ritual, blah blah blah, unstoppable green tide. These stratagems represent new units joining the fight rather than existing units being repositioned on the battlefield. So this is very important when you unstoppable green tide. If you have Scarboyd or Ardboyd, the unit that got removed, the one that comes in with the unstoppable green tide does not have that because it is considered a completely new unit coming in. So I've made that mistake before. I didn't realize that, but now it's in the facts. So if you Scar Boys a unit, unstoppable green tide them, they no longer have strength 5. It's just a regular unit of boys again. And there's one thing in here that's a little confusing. Where is it here? Just for the knobs, kind of. Let's see. I just saw it in here. Has to do with using an upgrade point more than once. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Can a model take the same war gear option? Not war gear option more than once. No, each bullet pointed war gear option in a unit status sheet can only be used once each time you include that unit in your army. So with the knob, it says you can replace the slugger or choppa with the choppa. You don't have to worry about it because you're using the same bullet point. You're just using one bullet point, so you do the 2 choppa knob thing. So that's very important, just to make sure there's no confusion about that. And the other thing was with coherency. So if a unit is not in coherency at the beginning of the movement phase, and they can't get into coherency, which might happen with big spread out units of boys, of course, they don't have to move. There's no penalty other than if they cannot in the move in coherency, they cannot move. And you can choose not to move and leave them out of coherency without any other penalty. So that's just something to keep in mind when you get your boys spread out and taking casualties. Yeah, so anyway, that's it. That's the other thing I want to note of this for the main rulebook facts is the coherency. See, if an attack inflicts mortal wounds in addition to the normal damage on a truck and the damage is subsequently reduced to 1, is a ramshackle, all the mortal wounds inflicted included in this damage reduction, no. Still takes mortal wounds. So I think like a rail gun from a hammerhead is a good example. You can ramshackle the normal damage but not the mortal wounds. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, Ludas. Let's see. That's really all that changed as far as the orcs go. But again, mob up. I don't know what to say about that. It was a nerf that wasn't needed. I think this change here, changing the def guns to roll D3 each time it shoots, was a sufficient nerf to the Ludastar. Because before, if you rolled 1 or 2, you could command point that to go up to try and get that 3. Or if you rolled 1, you could try and get the 3. And it would apply to both times you show off. Both times you shoot with normal and showing off. But now you have to re-roll that again, or you might go back down to 1. Makes showing off a lot less appetizing. So you still get your Mordaka. That could have changed that as well. I think they should have nerfed Mordaka instead of mob up. If they had made Mordaka so it only applies once per shooting phase, or change it to have the same wording that each time when a unit is selected to shoot, you may use this stratagem for Mordaka, so it wouldn't apply both times if you use a showing off with Ludas, and then combine with this where you have to roll a D3. That way you would nerf just the Ludastar without hurting the other fun things to do with like Commandos and Storm Boys and Mega Knobs and even Flash Gits. All the other fun things you can do that you could do, can't any longer, with Mob Up. That is completely nowhere near as game-changing as the Ludastar is. So they should have nerfed Mordaka, which would only affect Bad Moon's infantry units. I guess it would have affected Morkanauts with the Village's Defiant one too, or Gorkanauts. Okay, it would have affected the shoot again stratagem from Village's Defiant from the Dread Mob, but that's fine. I would handle that nerf where you can only use Mordaka once per shooting phase. It would only apply once per shooting phase. And then combine with the roll D3 each time the Ludus shoot instead of per phase. And I think we would be in a much better position. Again, this is just pure and simple an overreaction to the Ludastar. So that's my opinions on the Big Fac. I think it was a big old nerf bat that really wasn't necessary. They could have done something to just hit the Ludastar specifically without hurting other fun things to do, but they didn't. So who's ever doing and working on these facts, I have a real problem with. Anyway, so that's it for this episode of Talking About Orcs. Let me know what you think about the nerf bat in the comments below, and thanks for watching.